Let's be honest, your house is flooding. It's an absolute nightmare, probably one of the most stressful things you can go through as a homeowner. Water is where it's not supposed to be, and every single second feels like an hour. So today, we're going to walk through exactly what happens next, from that initial moment of panic all the way to the final repair.
Just picture it. It's the middle of the night, and you wake up to that sound. Drip, drip, drip. You follow it, and your heart just drops. You see a puddle spreading on the floor, or maybe a stain growing on the ceiling. You realize this isn't just some tiny leak. This is a full-blown emergency, and the clock has officially started ticking.
Okay, so that middle of the night drip, that's just one way this whole thing can start. Let's dive into the common culprits behind water damage and, more importantly, the hidden dangers they bring with them. So, what are we really talking about here? Well, it can be almost anything. A frozen type that just couldn't take it anymore and burst. Your trusty old water heater finally giving up the ghost. Even your air conditioner can turn on you if its condensate line gets clogged up. And sometimes, the problem is the ground itself. If you have expansive clay soil, it can shift and crack your foundation, letting water just seep in silently over a long time. Now, this is super important. The stuff you see, the soggy carpet, the ugly stains, the warped floorboards, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, it's alarming for sure. But the real enemy is what's happening where you can't see it. Behind your walls, water is just soaking into the insulation, it's weakening the subfloor, and it's warping the actual wooden frame of your house. And worst of all, it's creating the perfect breeding ground for mold, which can start to grow in as little as 24 hours. And that brings us to the most crucial phase of this entire ordeal, that first hour. Seriously, what you do or don't do right away can be the difference between a manageable cleanup and a full-on catastrophic reconstruction project. This number, this is your enemy. This is the clock you are racing against. This isn't just some vague estimate. It is a biological fact. You have about 1 to 2 days before a simple water problem can explode into a serious mold problem. And that comes with a whole new world of health risks and huge remediation costs. This is exactly why the professional response has to be so fast.
So, when you make that frantic call to a professional, they kick off a process called mitigation. You really need to know this term. This is not about fixing things yet. This is all about triage. Think of it like a paramedic for your house. It's about stopping the bleeding, getting the standing water out, setting up heavy-duty equipment, and just preventing the damage from spreading 1 inch further. It is always, always step one. And only after that emergency mitigation phase is totally done and everything is proven to be dry, does restoration begin. This is the part you've been waiting for, the rebuilding. We're talking replacing drywall, laying new floors, painting. So think of it this way. Mitigation stops the disaster, and restoration cleans up after it. 2 totally different but equally essential phases. So, how do the pros actually get everything bone dry? You might be thinking, how hard can it be? Just open a window and point some fans at the wet spot, right? Well, not so fast. There's a fascinating science to this, and it all starts with knowing exactly what kind of water you're dealing with. Believe me, not all water is created equal. Professionals classify it into 3 categories. Category 1 is clean water, say from a broken water pipe. Category 2 is gray water, like from an overflowing washing machine. It's gross, but not super toxic. But Category 3, that's black water. We're talking sewage, floodwater. This stuff is a serious health hazard and requires a completely different, much more intense cleanup protocol. And this is where things get really cool. The pros use a science called psychrometrics. They're not just blowing air around randomly. They are actively manipulating the temperature and humidity inside your house. What this does is it forces the hidden moisture out of the drywall, out of the wood studs, and into the air. And once it's in the air, their industrial-strength dehumidifiers can grab it and pull it out for good. Now, here's something that might shock you. In a lot of places, there's no official government license required to do this kind of work. That's kind of scary, right? That's precisely why certifications from groups like the IICRC are so critical. It's pretty much the only way for you, the homeowner, to know that the people in your house actually understand the science and the standards to get the job done right. All right, so a certified team shows up at your door. What does this process actually look like on the ground? Let's walk through the methodical approach they use to turn that watery chaos back into your home. It's a really clear 3-step path. First, they become detectives. They assess everything, using tools like thermal cameras to literally see water hiding inside your walls. Then comes the muscle, extraction and drying, when all the heavy-duty equipment rolls in. And finally, and this is so important, completion and verification. They don't just guess it's dry. They take moisture readings every single day until their scientific meters prove that your house is back to normal. And the gear they bring? Yeah, this is not the stuff you can just go rent at the local hardware store. We are talking about truck-mounted pumps that can suck out thousands of gallons of water in an hour, air scrubbers with HEPA filters to clean contaminants out of the air you breathe, and of course, those all-important moisture meters that give them the hard data to prove the job is actually done. It's really important to have realistic expectations here. The actual drying phase usually takes about 3 to 5 days. This isn't a quick one-and-done visit. It's a continuous process where they are monitoring and tweaking the equipment every single day to guarantee a complete and thorough dryout before any rebuilding can even start. Okay, the fans are finally gone, the house is stable and dry, but you're not out of the woods yet. Now you have to navigate the aftermath. This is where we tackle the really big questions about insurance, costs, and prevention. And here it is, the #1 question on every single homeowner's mind. And the answer, as you probably guessed, is, it depends. Okay, so here's the general rule of thumb you need to remember. Insurance companies typically cover damage that is sudden and accidental. A pipe bursts out of nowhere, or a washing machine hose just fails spectacularly. What they often don't cover is damage that happens slowly over time because of poor maintenance, like that slow leak under the sink you kind of ignored for a few months. And, this is critical, damage from ground flooding almost always requires a separate, specific flood insurance policy. So after going through all of this, the final question isn't just about fixing the damage that's right in front of you. It's about looking ahead. It's about understanding the unique risks of your own home, from its aging pipes to its foundation, because that is the very first step in making sure that 2 a.m. wake-up call never, ever happens again.